What's up guys, it's Valkia. As a heavily requested video and one of my top asked questions, how to rank up with Pharah, I've decided to make a video on the topic. Firstly, we need to understand the fundamentals of Pharah. To make it easy to understand, this video will be broken down into sections. I'll be lightly covering some areas which I've already got tutorials on, but we'll be linking all the tutorials in the description. If you love Pharah or Overwatch in general, make sure to subscribe. First of all, we need to understand Pharah as a hero. Pharah's rocket launcher is her main weapon. It loads 6 rockets at a time, which on direct impact deals 120 damage per rocket. This is the same damage as a slice of Genji's blade on his ultimate. Secondly, we have the concussive blast. So Pharah's concussive blast is a powerful knockback which allows for self-movement or crowd control and booping people off the maps. This is pretty much one of the most important tools that Pharah has for survival. So let's talk about Pharah's movement. She's a very versatile hero. Her boosts and hover allow you to access areas of the map which other heroes simply can't reach. This is something you should always use to your advantage. And finally, we have Pharah's Barrage, which is her ultimate. It's a very powerful ability, but if done in the incorrect circumstances, can easily be countered. This video will help you understand a better time to unleash the justice. Like any hero, Pharah has a set of strengths and weaknesses. You need to identify what these are if you want to become very effective with her. So firstly, let's look at her strength with Pharah. Her main weapon, the rocket launcher, is very powerful. It can wipe out any 200 HP hero with just 2 direct rockets. Direct rockets is something that you'll need to practice. It basically means when the rocket comes out and hits the target directly without doing splash damage. As a weakness, Pharah can easily be taken out if she's too high, if she's positioned incorrectly with not enough environment around you to keep you safe, or if you don't keep track of the enemy abilities and ultimates. As a strength and weakness, Pharah's Barrage is a very powerful ability but can be easily taken out, so working with your team on this one is imperative for your survival, or if you make sure that you flank around behind the enemies and you're certain that they know you're not there. As a strength, Pharah can use the environments over rooftops, under the maps, to flank, make escapes, to kind of get in, deal with the backline of the enemy team and get out. As a weakness, it can be pretty hard to get heals if you don't work with your healers on your team. Make sure that if you're with an Ana that you're in line of sight, and with the Zenyatta that they can orb you, being in line of sight as well. But help them, let them know where you are to make their life easier and quicker. As a huge weakness to Pharah, space is the killer. So for example, maps like Ilios Ruins, where there's not really much environment to hide behind, and for you to get close enough to deal with any of the hit scans or the Widowmakers, you have to really kind of travel in their eye line. This is a really big weakness for Pharah. Ideally, what you want to do is stay hidden until you're about to pounce and attack. Also, another weakness of Pharah is being on the enemy's back line, but when you don't have any abilities available, because if their team are pushing you and you don't have your boost or you don't have your concussive blast to get away, that can make it very difficult to ensure your survival. Remember, the golden rule number 1 for ranking up with any hero is teamwork and communication. If you don't have the right team composition or people are not in voice communication to work with you for combos, this can make it very difficult to win games with any hero. Especially at lower ranks, voice communication can be the deal breaker between winning games or losing them. Make sure to get a good microphone and headset. Now that we've identified Pharah's strengths, weaknesses and her kit, let's talk about what you're supposed to be doing when you play her and what is most effective for your team. When you start a game, you need to make sure to look at the enemy team and assess what heroes they have, and who will cause you the most issues as Pharah. On this assessment, you can determine how aggressive you will be playing and your positioning. To play Pharah successfully, you need to understand how to play her aggressively, which I will be covering through the video. It's also important that before the game begins, you look at your own team to see who you can work with in terms of combos. Zarya is great for huge grabs, Ana is also good for the boost, which turns Pharah into a complete death machine. When I'm playing Pharah, my main objectives are as follows. Help burn down enemy shields. Since Pharah deals a ton of damage, she's really good at breaking Reinhardt shields, Winston and Orisa shields. It's also worth noting that sometimes it's quicker to take out the Reinhardt from flanking behind him or shooting from above than it actually is to burn down his shield. Flank the enemy backline to take out their healers. Diving threat targets such as Widowmakers, soldiers and McCrees. Knocking down enemies from the higher grounds to the lower grounds. Don't forget having the high ground gives you the advantage. Putting in large amounts of damage onto enemies, which your teammates can follow up on. This is really great for dive compositions when you have a Winston, Genji, or a Tracer. Being reactive to the backline, your own backline, to threats. So for example, if you have a Winston jumping onto your healers, or a Tracer or a Genji, you can get back there if you're in the area. Also, helping stop big pushes with large amounts of rocket damage. Watch this counter push from my perspective. The enemy team are pushing in, the Ana's boosting the Genji's going in for a Dragon Blade. You could take out loads of people, but I drop down and wipe down the backline of their team, which is both their healers and a few other people. This means that I'm countering their push, and it's going to be very difficult for them, and they've wasted ultimates. We've spoken a lot about voice comms and that they're really important, but not actually what to communicate. I'm always using my voice comms to update my team on what's happening. Since most of the time I have the best view of the battlefield, I can pass information which will be beneficial to my team. Working with your team is really important. The times that I communicate to my teammates usually are when my ultimate is ready, then I'll ask anybody who I can combo with if they're ready soon. If they're not, then I'll make the decision if I can use my ultimate, then gain another one in time for a combo. If I've hit an enemy to the point that they're really low with a direct rocket, I'll tell my team that they're low and where they are so they can go and finish them off. If I finish them off myself, then I'll also call that they're down so my team don't go ahead and try and find them when they're already dead. I'll communicate to my team if I see a flanking hero from the enemy team. So for example, if I see a Genji behind, I can give them an educated guess on what will most likely happen. Genji might go in for a blade, so we can best deal with that threat as quickly as possible. Another time I'll communicate to my team when I'm about to ultimate is when I'm asking for heals. So I'll ask Zenyatta for an orb, or I'll ask Mercy to heal me, or Zarya if she has a bubble ready, because these little small things can make a huge difference. If you see something that your team might not have seen, so for example if Roadhog hooks down, I'll communicate that to my team that the hook is down so they know it's a bit more safe to go and engage the Roadhog. This goes for any hero with any ability. If I'm going to be making a deep dive onto the back of the enemy line, onto a Soldier, McCree or Widowmaker, I'll ask the Zenyatta to orb me, or I'll ask for some sort of healing or the Mercy to come with me so she can help keep me alive while I deal with that threat. When playing Pharah, you have to keep in your mind multiple things at once. Firstly, keep track of your own abilities and if they're on cooldown. Improper use could cause you to be stuck in a tricky situation without the ability to get away, when if you waited just a few moments later, you could have survived. It's imperative that if you want to rank up, you keep the enemy abilities on track, when they've used them and when they'd most likely be up again. I can't explain the feeling, but I kind of know when the abilities are going to be back up again, and you have this sort of intuition of when the enemy's abilities or ultimates will be up. You can make a safe decision based on what you see. For example, if a McCree has used a flashbang, it's safer to engage than if you're unsure if he has used it or not. At times when playing Pharah, you're going to be on your own, so it's always important that you know where your closest healing station is, whether it be a small or large health pack, or if there's a route that you can take to get back to your own team for healing. Once you understand the communication, knowing what abilities the enemy has, and what you're supposed to actually do on Pharah, you then need to work on your mechanical and survival skills. Mechanical skills basically means the practice of making sure you are comfortable using that hero, feeling in control, flowing around without hitting door frames, understanding how to use concussive blast for movement, and knowing Pharah's full movement potential. As you can see in this clip, it's a custom match where I've turned off the cooldowns for Concussive Blast and also Jump Hack. It's great for practicing your mechanical skills where you can just flow around and not have to wait for the cooldowns. You can literally use it every second. To turn off the cooldowns, all you have to do is go into the hero attributes, find the abilities that you want to change, and then just drag the slider up or down depending on what you want. Another tutorial called the Ultimate Movement Guide for Pharah is already available to help you with your mechanical skills. It goes all the way from using Concussive Blast for self-movement to how to fly forever with your hover. The environment is everything around you, from the walls, to the floor, to the rooftops, to the ability to go underneath the map to the other side. It's your world shield. When they're trying to shoot at you and you're hiding behind a wall, that is you using the environment to your advantage. If you want to become a great Pharah player, you have to learn how to use the environment to stay safe and to stay alive. Use the environment to wait for your abilities to come off cooldown before you can use Concussive Blast and Boost to get yourself into a safer position. Or you can use the environment to do a cheeky flank behind the enemy team, take out their healers, and get yourself back to safety. If you've ever watched any of my full games on Twitch or YouTube, for example, you'll see me using the environment all the time. After investing hundreds of hours into Pharah, it's one of the ways that I've been able to survive the most. Pharah's ultimate is a very powerful ability. It has the potential to take out a whole team very quickly, but it also has the same potential to take you out just as quick. A lot of people struggle with Pharah's Barrage, and hopefully these few little tips will help you survive a little bit better. There's nothing magical, and most of this checklist has already been covered in the video already. I'm going to be adding a few other things on top of it, which you need to be aware of before doing Barrage. I'm also going to be making it a standalone Barrage tutorial, because it's a question which I get asked a lot, and I'd like to be able to just link a direct video. Let's look at the checklist for Barrage. Barrage is an ability that can be cancelled. That means means if McCree flashbangs it or you get hooked out the sky, that means that you stop your ability and you have to wait until you build another one. So what you have to do again is be aware of the enemy abilities. If hook is down, then you know that if you barrage an enemy roadhog, for example, he's not going to be able to stop you through that. He can try and shoot you, he might be able to kill you, but it means he can't cancel it straight away. So enemy abilities to be aware of is Ana's sleep dart. That's a big one. You've got McCree flashbang that can cancel it. Defense Matrix, it can't cancel it, but it's the most annoying ability against Pharah Barrage. I hate D.Va. I hate her Defense Matrix, and it's one of the abilities which you really need to be careful of. Even with her change of Defense Matrix to 3 seconds, it can really take out pretty much all of your rockets. We've already mentioned Roadhog's hook, and also another one is Sombra's EMP, which can completely cancel your ultimate. Coupled very closely with enemy ability is enemy positioning. If you're about to ultimate but a few enemies are spread out, you're as good as dead. You have to be aware of all the enemies' team positioning if you want to have a successful barrage. Combining your ultimate with somebody else on your team, so for example Ana or Zarya, can make for a great ultimate. You can also ask for your team's support, so healing during your barrage, or if Zarya can put a bubble on you, that's even better because that bubble most likely will stop an Ana from being able to sleep dart you, and also the first initial damage you may receive. Keep track of the enemy support ultimates. If any of them use their support ultis when you're doing your barrage, it will give their team a surge of health, which is going to be bad for you because it means they have more time to take you out. If your own Zarya puts a grav in and their Zenyatta uses Transcendence inside it, what you'll need to do is have a Mercy damage boost or an Ana boost, which means you'll be able to do enough damage to rip through all of that support healing. An Orisa boost also works fine too. If you follow this small checklist, you're going to have a much better chance of survival during your barrage. As I said earlier, I'm going to make barrage into its own standalone video so I can really cover the points properly. People always ask me, do I think Pharah should move during her ultimate? I always say no, because a well-executed ultimate should be able to be done and completed. If you follow the checklist, you should be able to do that. However, on Junktown, you can use the spinny fidget spinner thing at the end to push you during your ultimate. It's pretty funny, really. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you are looking to rank up with Pharah, I hope that this video has given you some motivation and some new tips on how to play Pharah in different situations. If you have enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up. You can also support me over at twitch.tv/Valkia. I live from streaming and from YouTube, so any support really helps me. I appreciate it, and have yourself a great Christmas. And finally, don't forget to check out the Pharah tutorial playlist, which I've linked in the description. It goes into a little bit more detail into some of the things that we've covered in this video, and it should help you a little bit more.